It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Citadel's head volleyball coach, Dave Zelenock. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get involved in college volleyball coaching?
Sure. From a young age, I knew I wasn't going to be very tall or very athletic myself, so I figured I'd get into the other side. Develop my brain a little bit, figure out the game, and see if I could help other people.
What was it like playing for Central Michigan?
So, CMU is a club team, so it's very different than varsity volleyball, where the coaches kind of take care of everything, plan all the travel, the meals, equipment, take care of everything. Club, it's like the Wild West. Players take care of themselves and do everything on their own, and it's a really fun atmosphere. And you're allowed 2 varsity players on your team, former varsity players. So I encourage varsity players to go and play on their club team if they still, are finishing up college, to go and kind of live that lifestyle for a little bit of time, because it's a lot of fun. I had a blast playing, but it was really different than varsity, that's for sure.
Of course, after your club college volleyball career, what was it like getting into college coaching?
It was great. I started college coaching my last year of being an undergrad at Northwood, actually, which was a little Division II school that was about 30 minutes away from Central Michigan. So I started there. So I would go to school in the morning, and then I would drive up to practice in the afternoons. And it was great. It was hard. It was long days and long nights, but it was really exciting because I got to do what I wanted to do.
What was it like, obviously, being the assistant coach at Norwood?
It was interesting because I was the same age as those players. And a lot of times those players were driving down to CMU, where I went to school, to go out, so it was hard to be their age and to go out at night and, avoid the players that I was coaching, and they'd be hanging out with my friends. And so it was it was a sticky situation to avoid for a 21-year-old, but it made for interesting. It made it really good practice for how to draw lines as a coach, to put those lines in place of being a friend versus being a coach.
What was it like, obviously, getting the job at Delaware State?
So Del State, that was my first D1 job. So we had a lot of success at Northwood. I was there for 2 years. We did really well. But moving forward, I knew I wanted to get into Division I, so I got the job at Del State, and we were already in preseason for Northwood for my 3rd season, and I got the Del State job. So I packed up my truck, I drove out to the East Coast, and they were starting their first day of preseason there. But it was pretty wild. I got there and had nowhere to live. Nothing was set up for me. I had to figure it all out, and they were in the middle of preseason. So, but it was great. It was a really different environment moving up to D1, but also East Coast. It was HBCU. So it was just a really, really different environment for me to be in. But I had a great time. I was only there for 1 year. I ended up, staying in contact with some of those girls. I hired one of those players as my assistant, my first time head coaching. So I had a great time.
What was it like leaving Delaware State to go back to Central Michigan, your alma mater?
So that was, kind of the dream. When I was at CMU, the volleyball team was okay, but it was kind of always the dream was to coach at my alma mater and to win a championship there, because I love Central. That's my school. So I always wanted to go back and coach there and win a championship there. So when I got a chance to go there and be an assistant coach, that was like a big deal for me. So going home and doing that, that was huge. So it was an easy choice, obviously, to leave Delaware State and to go to Central. I still knew a lot of people there, around town, and, some of my friends were still undergrads, finishing up, but I didn't know anyone on the team, but it was still, I'm pretty young at that time. Some of their seniors are only 2 years younger than me. So it was still a challenge in that age thing. And I still looked very young at the time, not, like this, a little gray on the sides, but it was exciting to be able to go home and, try and help my school win a championship.
What was it like, obviously, being the recruitment coordinator at your alma mater and then working your way to be the associate head coach?
So, being a recruiting coordinator there, I think was pretty easy because I'm recruiting for a school that I love. So, recruiting is about selling the school. Well, it's pretty easy to sell a school that you love. A lot of coaches, they're kind of hired guns. Even me, I'm at the Citadel, and I love the Citadel, and it's a great school, and I'm selling the Citadel. I'm trying to get people to come here, but it's a lot easier when you're coming from that school. I did my time there, and that's in my blood is that school. So it made it really easy to bring in highly ranked recruiting classes when I'm selling a product that I'm a product of too. So being the recruiting coordinator there was kind of easier. I think after my second year, maybe they made me associate head coach. I don't really remember. That's associate head coach. It's a fancy title for assistant coach, the top assistant, I guess. Some people get it earlier, some people don't get it. It was a nice thing to kind of recognize all the work that I put in for the program there that they gave me. I don't know that it meant that much as far as anything like in anyone's eyes. I was still the first assistant. I did a lot of stuff there. It was just a nice thing that they did for me.
What was it like, obviously, leaving your alma mater of Central Michigan to go to Tennessee Tech to become their head coach?
That was hard, to leave there. But at that time, so we had won the first ever program championship, which was what I set out to do when I went there. That was my goal, was to help Central win its first championship, which we did. But it was hard to leave the team because there's no easy time to leave a group of players. I recruited them, I brought them in, trained them, we won. And there's all, the next group's coming in. You're like, oh, I really love these kids coming in. It was so hard to leave, but my wife had just had her first kid. And, as an assistant coach, you're kind of at the whim of your head coach's schedule. And he said, well, you get on a plane, go to California. You got to get on a plane, go to California. So you kind of need to be in control of the schedule a little bit more. So started looking for head coaching jobs, and this one came up, and, it was interesting. So when I took the interview, I was like, oh, this is a place that I could see myself having some success. So we went there, and I was there for 5 years. We had some success there, and, towards the end, a lot of injuries and some issues there, but it was a great time. Learned how to be a head coach, learned some things that were great and some things that weren't so great and what to do, but it was really challenging leaving Central.
Of course, what was it like, obviously, going from Texas Tech, which is a Division I non-military school, to going to Citadel, which is a military school?
So Tennessee Tech, leaving Tennessee Tech and coming to Citadel. So we played them my final year at Tennessee Tech. We played the Citadel and we won. I'll just throw that in there. But I was super impressed with the discipline, the way that the athletes carry themselves, and I just kind of took note of it. And then in the off season, when the Citadel was open, and I applied for it, it kind of worked out. And Citadel was always an interesting place for me. A lot of my family's military, my little sister military, cousins, uncles, grandpa, all that. And it's in Charleston, which, if you've ever been to Charleston, you understand. It's one of the top tourist cities in the country. It's beautiful. The weather's great. It's just a great place. So it's very challenging. I will tell you this, and I don't know if anyone can disagree with me. I think it is the most challenging job in Division I volleyball. There's other military academies, but those are senior military academies that are, Army, Navy. Those kids are treated a little bit more like government assets. We kind of pride ourselves on how tough it is here. So it's a little bit of a different situation. So it's hard to get used to as a coach. the limited amount of access that we have to our kids, the things that they go through, we have to kind of work around their schedule. We have less time to practice than any Division I team in the country. I can guarantee that. So it's really, really hard to be successful in volleyball here, but we've somehow figured it out.
What are some of the things that you've accomplished so far as the head coach for Citadel?
Oh goodness, it's a long list. I don't know all of them. This year we won the SoCon tournament, so that's good. I think every year we've set the record for win totals. So I don't know what that is, but because I don't really get in the weeds with that stuff. But we've had all conference kids. We've had an all region kid. Char's playing over in Greece professionally now. Yeah, I don't know. You have to kind of check the bio. I don't in the website because every year we've set a lot of records for things. But the winning the championship this year would be the biggest one.
Of course, what does a typical game day look like for the Citadel volleyball program?
So home and away is very different. Away, it looks like every other team in the country. They're at a hotel, they wake up, eat, blah, 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 go through their stuff. Home is where it gets really, really different because we're a military school and they're in the barracks or dorms, for a normal place. So they wake up when the horn goes off, like on a military base. So I think it's like 5:30 in the morning, the bugle goes off and people are out there doing PT. So running around, doing push-ups, jumping jacks, all that stuff. But we still have to go to class. So they're in class until about 2 p.m. And that's when they're excused from class on a game day and we play at 6. So a lot of schools, they won't have to go to class at all on a game day. We still do. The only thing they let them out of on a game day is PT. So we don't have to do PT on a game day. So that means we don't have to do the mandatory exercise. But other than that, we still have to do everything.
Who are some teams that you face in your conference?
So Furman, Wofford, UNCG, Samford, Mercer, Western Carolina, Chat. I'm sure I'm forgetting someone. ETSU. I just threw out a bunch real quick. So we only have in the SoCon there's only 9 volleyball schools. VMI doesn't have one. That's kind of our big rival, but in volleyball they don't have a volleyball team. So
what is it like obviously playing those teams like UNCG that isn't a military school?
It's interesting because I think they on a certain level they do understand what we go through. But they don't care. It's not like anyone's going to spot us 5 points and say, oh, we feel bad for you that you had to do 100 push-ups this morning and here you go. But, you take 22 credits a semester and we only take 15. No one cares. Everyone's trying to beat everyone. So at the end of the day, everyone's competitors, everyone's volleyball players. But I think when they come on campus and play us, they get it a little bit more because they see all the cadets running around in uniforms and how frantic it is. And they see the tanks and the jets and all that stuff. But I think a lot of the coaches have a little bit of respect for what our kids are because, some of our kids are going into the armed services, so they appreciate that. So it's kind of cool feeling.
What does the recruitment process look like for prospective student athletes looking to play college volleyball?
For us, it's a little bit different than other schools, but, I would say most kids are playing club nowadays, but for us, our assistant coach is kind of our first line of communication. So he's going to talk to you first and tell you about the school and kind of all of the good, bad, ugly, everything about it, and make sure that it's a decent fit before we get going too far down the road. In the 4 years I've been here, we haven't had anyone drop out or quit or anything like that, because that was a big thing in the past. A lot of people dropped out of the program because it's really, really hard to go here. So we make sure that they're really, really well informed about what this place is, so that we don't have to deal with that situation where we come to depend on a kid and then they don't make it through freshman year because it's too hard. So we've done well with that so far, but it's different for every institution, but that's just how we do things here.
Of course, what are some of the things that you look at on the road when you're looking at these recruits?
it depends on the position. Every position requires a little bit different. I think the first thing is obviously athleticism. We want to make sure that they can kind of move us forward in athleticism in each position, but then skill set. And then there's little things that we look at to make sure that they're the right type of kid. I tell kids this all the time. If the game's over and she throws her water bottle at her mom and it's like, hey, fill it up. No, that's not the type of kid who's going to do well here. Go fill up your water bottle yourself. There's just that type of kid who has others do things for them. The type of kid who, when the match is over, runs right to her cell phone, is instantly on Instagram. They're not going to do well at the Citadel. There's just certain red flags that we can see in the recruiting process while we're out in these big convention centers. So the thing that they should learn is people are always watching everything. And these red flags pop up, at least for us. We can see these things that make you kind of a no-no for us at the Citadel. You won't do well here.
Of course, what does the official visit look like when you bring the prospective student athletes to Citadel?
I think our official visits are very similar to everyone else. We try to make the day all about you. You'll fly into Charleston, which again, it's Charleston, which is great. Put you up at one of our sponsor hotels, go to dinner. We try and get them around the team as much as possible without adults around, meaning me or your parents, because we want the team to really talk to you and answer your questions and tell you what it's like. Because even though we've tried, I didn't go here and our assistant didn't go here. So I think I know what's going on in the barracks and around campus, but the girls are going to tell you what it's really like. So we try and get them as much time as we can around the team. And then, we'll take them, we'll tour campus, talk to someone at admissions, do all the normal stuff on a college visit, but we really do try and give them as much time as possible with the team, especially the younger ones on the team, because those are the ones they're going to play with. A senior who isn't going to be here when they get here anyway, maybe not, other than answer some questions because you've been here, you've gone through, the 4 years of it, learn from her experience, ask her about the whole process, but try and talk to some people, especially the freshmen who are kind of in freshman year, which is the hardest year here. Ask her what's going on. How hard is it really? So we try and do that.
Of course, what is it like as head coach to see those recruits put on that Citadel Carolina blue, powder blue jersey?
The first time that they get out there, we try and do that in preseason. We try and do a scrimmage to get those nerves out. So we try and do it behind closed doors, because the first time they put their jersey on and compete, it's nerve-wracking for them, but it's also nerve-wracking for me because I never know how they're going to respond. We'll have kids who all preseason, those 2 weeks, they're just killing it. And we stat everything. So she's hitting 350, she's passing a 2.4, it looks great. And she puts the jersey on and just tanks, just that performance anxiety the first time. So we try and make sure that happens behind closed doors when it doesn't matter as much, just to kind of work those nerves out. And I've done that forever, my whole career. We try to do one of those in jersey scrimmages, inter squad scrimmages behind closed doors, just get it out of the way. Or play a Division II team or even another D1 team, just a scrimmage that doesn't matter. We try to do those so that when it does matter, all right, we've been through this, we've had this walkthrough rehearsal, you've been there, it's fine. But it's all, even for me, I get nervous too. I might not look like it, but I get really nervous for a freshman the first time that they go out there, because I know that they are. I'm like, which version am I going to get? We recruited you for 2 years. We've done all this practice. Who's going to show up when it really matters? Because I have no idea. It's all a mystery, this is all a big gamble that we're doing with no real safety net underneath us.
What advice would you give prospective student athletes that are in high school that are looking to play college volleyball?
The first thing is you have to go talk to your high school counselors to make sure you're in the right classes so that you're going to be eligible, because the NCAA has, it's been a while now, but they've changed their core requirements, and not all high school counselors stay up on these things. So every once in a while we'll have a high school counselor who's like, oh, I didn't know you need to take this many years of math or whatever. So make sure you're on top of that. The next thing is to reach out to the coaches, individually. We can tell when it's a mass email, when they've written 50 coaches at once with the same thing and they've not done their research and they're like, oh, I see that you've had a highly successful season and we're coming off of a 2-win season. All right, come on, it's a form email, we know. So, write us an individual email and say, hey, I'm interested. I see you had a rough year. Just be specific, say what you're interested in, why you're interested. Reach out to a lot of schools and don't be name chasers, I would say. I came from Division II. That's where I got my start. And there's some phenomenal Division II ball. There's some phenomenal D2, D3, NAIA. I think don't think Division I is the end all be all, because there's a lot of resources out there in different levels. And the volleyball is still great. There's money out there if you need scholarships. You just got to look all over. And like I said, not be thinking that Division I is the only thing.
What advice would you give those prospective student athletes that are determining whether, obviously, to go Division I or go to a military academy?
So there's a difference between the academies. So Army, Navy, all those. You go there, you're going into the Army or Navy. There's a difference between them and us and VMI. So only 30% of the kids who go to the Citadel are going into the service. So we're different than Army and Navy. You can come to the Citadel and not go into Army, Navy, Marines. But if you come here, you couldn't go into any of the other branches, which is kind of cool about Citadel. So you can come here and kind of try and see and then figure out which branch. So we've got kids who they think they want to go into the military, but they don't know which branch, and they decide by their junior year. Or we've had kids come here, they're like, I know I'm going to Air Force. All right, cool. And then they get here and they change their mind junior year to Army, or they know they're going and then they get here and after a year they're like, nope, I'm not going military. That's cool too. But they still just live a military lifestyle while they're here. And it kind of begs the question, why would you do that? Like, why would you go to a military school if you're not going to the military? Well, it's a good education. We've got some really good departments, but also our alumni network is phenomenal. They take care of all of our kids, regardless of if they go into the military or not. Our graduates make really good money, like time after time, you see the reports come out. So going to a military school really does, whether you go into one of the federal academies, well, obviously that sets you on a path, but if you go to a military academy, you really learn a lot of discipline that'll help you out for the rest of your life. It is a super challenging 4 years, no doubt about it. Like, it's going to be the hardest 4 years of your life, but the next 40 are going to be a lot easier. Whereas you go to, more of a, I don't want to say party school, but, party school like Central Michigan that I went to, had a lot of fun, that's for sure. But it makes it's a little bit different, different lifestyle for sure. Wear sweatpants to class or wear military fatigues to class, very different lifestyle. But the military lifestyle does set you up for a lot of success the rest of your life. What
advice would you give future coaches that are looking to get into college coaching?
So our assistant coach, Tim, he worked a normal job. He was in law enforcement, he worked in prison systems, he did a lot of other stuff, and then he wanted to get into it. So he coached some club, and then he volunteer coached Texas Tech, actually, and then Purdue. Volunteering is a great option. I know it sounds, a lot of people are like, oh no, I have to get paid for my time. Unfortunately, you can't sometimes. Getting a paying job right out of the gate is really challenging. So sometimes you have to volunteer. That's one of the easiest ways to get in, is volunteering your time, because everyone needs help. You're allowed 3 paid and a volunteer. You're allowed 4 coaches. We have 2. Like, I could actually bring on 2 volunteer coaches right now. So if everyone's looking for help, and if you volunteer your time, you get to put it on your resume. Like, if I brought on 2 volunteers, those people could put on their resume Division I assistant coach. So you got to just get those credits on your resume. However you get it, whether it's free work or paid, it still says Division I assistant coach. So find a way to get your foot in the door, make those connections. Again, whatever level you have to, and then you can work your way up, but you got to get your foot in the door and make those connections and talk to people.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the Citadel volleyball program at?
If you go to our website, Citadel Sports, all our social media links are on there. I don't really do the social media. I think I have a Facebook just so my family around the country can see pictures of my kids. So no one wants to see that. But yeah, follow our Citadel stuff and you'll be able to keep track of, all of our girls and what they're up to, because I don't really do the social media stuff.
Thank you again, Coach Dave Zelenock, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as the Citadel volleyball head coach.
Thank you, sir.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach David, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.